ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of our wonderful show called The Democratic View. And today I have with me someone I call my energy guru. And his name is Izzy Doroski. Right, I'm sorry.
Close enough.
And Izzy's going to first start. Well, I have interviewed him before, and by the way, if you want to see that other interview, it's on ehdem's.com, and on to the bottom right, you'll see the Dem View, and you can see all of the interviews, and Izzy was done once before. So, Izzy, I want you to give us a little bit of your background. What makes you my energy guru?
Well, I'm someone who's very interested in science and energy. I went to a college upstate New York, and I got a biology degree.
What college?
Cortland State. I went there, and I got a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. And while I was taking courses in physics and geology, I learned about alternate energy. I learned about solar energy, geothermal energy, other forms of alternate energy. And I always thought, geez, it'd be great to have a solar energy system on my house, or alternate energy system on my house whenever I get one. So in 1981, when I bought my house, we put one in. But just about my background a little bit more is when I graduated Cortland, I got a job at Stony Brook University. I worked there for a year and a half as a research scientist. Then I got into the field of wastewater treatment, and I went for advanced schooling in that, and I became a certified operator. And then I got a job with the Suffolk County Department of Health Services after that. And I ended up working for the Suffolk County Department of Health Services for 33 years.
Wow. And?
I was an environmental health scientist when I worked for the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and gave me the opportunity to travel all throughout Suffolk County and visit sites that produce energy, that produce products, and it was a very, very interesting job.
Sounds wonderful. And so you have solar panels, and since I wanted to grow up and be like you, I now have solar panels. And
well, that's wonderful.
I am thrilled to death with them.
They're excellent, and I know recently you just installed yours.
Yes,
correct?
mine were installed about 3 weeks ago. I had to clear a few trees to be able to get enough sun on my roof, and I just had, as a matter of fact, the company that sort of supervises the company that did it to come in and check all of the electrical work.
Now, do you own the panels, or do you own them?
No, I own them.
You own them?
I bought them.
Uh-huh.
I bought them because I thought, well, you know, I'm kind of old, and
yeah, because they can be leased also.
That was one of the reasons why I went with the company I did, because they were the only company, and I interviewed 4. It took me a long time.
Yeah.
It took me about 6 months before I really got down to start doing it, and they were the only ones that said, you can lease them. You don't have to buy them.
Right.
And there was a big difference in the price.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what?
Yeah.
My mother's died. I sold her house. I got a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking a trip around the world, I'd rather reduce my carbon footprint, and I bought them.
It's a wonderful investment, and
Yes.
you always have them, and they increase the value of your house.
I'd like to put a sign outside my door, on my porch, that says something like, I have solar panels, because I will tell you, I was doing some politics during this last election season, driving around areas in East Hampton, big houses, not a solar panel on anybody. And I was absolutely shocked.
Yeah, well, not only that, they probably have a garage with 6 slots, so they have big SUVs and a lot of automobiles, and they're probably not saving energy there.
I drive a Prius, too.
Same as me, yeah.
I mean, I really believe that it is time for all of us to think about the future. If you don't think about the future, and we live in such a precarious area, I mean, just look at the Philippines, and you know that, hey, folks, it is time for us to begin to consider ways to help Mother Earth.
Yes, it's we have to do everything possible, and individuals can go out and purchase solar energy systems, alternate energy systems. And if you think we should maybe talk about that a little bit, I think that would be great. So I guess I'll just bring up the topic of, first of all, what is energy? All right? And I started studying the concept of energy and about how we get our energy and the problems we're going to have with oil and fossil fuels in the future, both environmentally and from the dwindling resources. So I started giving out, since I researched, I came up with a PowerPoint and I gave out lectures to libraries, town halls, and colleges, actually. And it covers the whole topic of energy and everything. But what is energy? Scientists define energy as the ability to do work, such as lift a large 747 off the ground, or a big Caterpillar tractor digging earth like that, or a big tractor trailer going up a gigantic hill. And
You know, I was just thinking, I remember when I took physics in high school, that was the first thing we talked about. What is energy? The
Yeah.
ability to do work.
yeah, and you know where all the energy came from that we have today? It came from the Big Bang, which was 13.8 billion years ago. All right, and from that, there is just 4 forces in nature that produce all of the energy and mass in the universe that we have. And I'll just name it. This is high school physics stuff, really, nowadays. But the 4 forces are the electromagnetic force. All right, that's why I can go like this to this table. My finger doesn't pass through it. Also, electricity and magnetism. A weak nuclear force, which is the force that produces radioactive decay. The strong nuclear force, which is the power of the hydrogen bomb. And the gravity, that's the last force. Just those 4 forces in nature, that's it. That produces all the energy and mass that we have in this universe. So now different types of energy that we have nuclear energy, we have fossil fuel energy, and we have alternate forms of energy. Okay, that's it. That's what we have. Now, as far as nuclear energy, we know that we have, I believe in this country, we have about 104 operating nuclear plants, and they produce roughly about 19% of the energy that we use, electricity that we use in this country. And they have their benefits and they have their downsides, such as what happened in Fukushima recently. But maybe later on we'll discuss that a bit. Okay, now getting into fossil fuels, we have the different types of fossil fuels is coal, we have natural gas, and we have oil. All right, so that's all the different types of fossil fuels that we have. And then as far as alternate energy, we have wind power, we have biomass, all right, which is like burning wood, okay. We have water power, which is hydroelectric, okay. We have solar, and we have geothermal. Okay, that's the different forms of alternate energy that we have. Now, our systems rely on solar energy, all right, and I know the type that you have right now is known as solar photovoltaic, means it produces electricity. Okay, now my systems on my house, I have actually 6 different individual solar systems on my house. All right, I'll tell you the first one I put on was a clothesline. Okay, and that's a form of passive solar. Okay, you wash your clothes, you hang it out on the line, which you could put up for $50 or maybe even less. And between the wind power and the sun, drying those, it's the equivalent of 4,000 watts. Every time you run your dryer, it would be 4,000 watts. So that's the first solar system I put on my house. Okay, the second type of solar system I put on my house was a solar thermal system. All right, and that's an active solar thermal system. It means that it takes energy to make it go. All right, and that system produces hot water for my family. Okay, and I put that system in 1981, and to this day, it's still working fabulous. I have not changed the solar panels at all since 1981. I just had to rebuild the storage tank and the pump for it, but that's just normal maintenance after that many years. So that produces all the hot water we have. We have an
That's almost 30 years.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, actually, it's 32 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, today from the sun, I'm sure I'll have about 137-degree hot water. We just got our natural gas bill in. It was a net minus $2. Okay. and by the way, just while I'm on the bills, we just got our electric bill in, and my electric bill was $29. So, and that's because of now I just told you a few of my solar systems, okay? Now I'm going to go to the next systems I put in. I put in a solar photovoltaic system like you, that's grid connected like yours, correct? Yours is grid connected.
Yes.
That means that the electricity we produce, which is DC, it goes to an inverter, which converts it to AC, alternating current, and then it goes into your box, your electrical junction box, and then goes right into the grid, and it powers up the grid. It contributes power to the grid, and then they pay you a fee for producing that electricity. You're a producer to the grid system.
Gee, I didn't know that.
Just as long as you're not using more than you're producing. You're using more than you're drawing from the grid.
I don't think I am.
No. So then let's see. Another system that I had put on was a small DC separate power system, a very small one. I only have 5 small solar panels, and that just charges 2 180 amp batteries. That's a proper storage system that's closed and vented, just in case you had a hydrogen leak from it, and that would vent it outside. But we haven't had no problem. The batteries are all enclosed, but you could theoretically overcharge them, and you could have a little bit of issue. But I haven't. I've put that system in 2005, and my batteries are still working to this day.
And what does that system do?
That system, I have alternate energy lighting throughout every room in my house, either LED or xenon bulbs, and that way if the power ever goes out, that way I can light up every room in my house, and I can also do a few other things. I have a DC-powered fan right above my wood coal stove, and I could distribute the heat from my wood coal stove into my bedroom, which is far away, because it's an L ranch, and that will heat that up on a thermostat. I could also blow heat into my basement to keep the pipes from freezing. So I always wondered, geez, what would happen if the power went out? Now, our grid-connected systems are wonderful. The only limitation that they have is that if you get a hurricane or the grid goes down, then our systems can't function.
Yes.
Right? That's the only problem. But with my little DC systems, just as long as my panels don't get blown away, which is a possibility, but they haven't yet. So then I can light my house up. I can heat my house with my wood coal stove, blowing the heat all around. I also have a few little outlets. I can run a few utilities. I can actually run a small refrigerator on DC, and so it's a very, very good system.
So how do you heat your house? Because that's the thought. I mean,
Okay.
I have to buy oil, and
Right.
I really hate having to buy oil. I don't mind when I
Yeah.
drive up and I go in to fill my Prius.
Oil
and I'm
is-
using 5 gallons. I don't mind that. But when I have to buy that oil,
Yeah.
I say to myself, there must be a better way.
Yeah, oil is a wonderful substance as far as energy density. The problem is that it's not renewable. Okay.
No.
So, but theoretically, they can manufacture oil in the future through vegetable oil, through biodiesel and biosources. All right, but they're very limited. So, but how I heat my house is I put an extension on my house in my bedroom. I built all windows on the south side, and often we'll just shut our boiler off because it's a natural gas boiler that's made in Germany. It can be made to shut off. It's fine. Some boilers you can't shut off because the gaskets will leak water. But that one is made to shut off. And then our house will be heated up by the sun during the day. And October, November, mostly we can get by, but once it gets cold, we'll leave the boiler on. But our house gets a lot of direct gain passive solar heat in it from the windows that we have on our house. And then I do have a natural gas backup system that will heat up the house.
So you use natural gas?
Yes, I do use natural gas. And I'm just going to mention my last solar system, just so I don't forget, because we get these conversations sometimes, we'll lose our track here. My last solar system that I have is a solar attic fan. I have a solar attic fan that has it's a DC powered fan. It's built right into my attic, and it kind of faces on the west side. And think of it, your attic. You know how hot an attic can get, right?
Sure.
I have passive vents in the attic, but when the sun comes up, heating that attic, the sun's going to hit that solar panel, and that solar panel is going to, the more sun, the more fan power we'll get, and it'll ventilate out that heat very effectively out of my attic. And so that's another simple solar system that people can get. So just to review, if people are thinking on saving energy and putting a solar system on, first thing you can do is you can get a clothesline, all right?
And you know, something you don't mention, because I know as a child, we always put our clothes out to my bedroom window. My mother had a clothesline.
Yep.
And
Yep. In the
and
city, right? It was
in the city, in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
And I will tell
Yeah.
you that those sheets smelled unbelievably
Yep.
wonderful. And it's a shame I don't do more of it myself. I should be doing more of that.
Yeah. Well, some people they get used to the dryer and they don't like the feel of clothes being outside. Because it's a little crisper. But anybody would realize that the scent from a natural scent is just it seems to
wonderful.
be more enhancing. And
It's
but
absolutely
it's all what you
wonderful.
get used to. It's a psychological thing. It's a subjective thing, and you get a little exercise. You go out there. My wife broke her ankle, and I was doing the laundry since August. I was doing the laundry and doing the cat boxes and all that. One thing was I lost 10 pounds because of it. but now I took the clothes out for her with the clothes basket today, and she just wants to go out there and hang those clothes. She likes it. The cat comes. The cat goes sits by her. It's a wonderful experience. Go look up at the sky and see the clouds and say to yourself, geez, it's so nice to be alive and looking at this wonderful world.
I remember all the time when I was a kid, when occasionally when my mom would come home and the clothes would be frozen on the line, and we would have to take them in and then hang them around in the bathroom,
Yep.
And I remember also my grandmother, who lived across the way, who would yell at me, Philly, she had an Italian accent, Philly, get those clothes off the line before your mother gets home.
Yeah,
I'd have
you'd
to
be in
pull
big trouble.
I'd have to pull in those clothes. But the smell was incredible.
Yeah.
It really was. It had such a freshness to it that you don't get out of a dryer.
Yeah. So it's a really good thing for people to try and save energy all they can. Hey, and they're saving money.
That's right.
And it's more money that you can put away, and you can do things that you want to do. You can donate the money, or if you feel that way. But we all got to do our part. And energy, we're just wasting a lot in this country and the world. And 8 billion people in the world right now, and
That's right.
and a lot of those people, they don't have anything. They're just struggling to get by, to get food. And why waste stuff like that?
And it isn't only that. I think when you live particularly in this area, and I did mention to you before the show, and I was doing some politicking and driving around in areas here where there were very large houses. And I never saw solar panels on anybody's roofs. Matter of fact, I only know one other person who has solar panels in my part of East Hampton. Now, I haven't been to Montauk and looked around over there, but I only saw one person who had solar panels. And I am absolutely amazed that there aren't more people who are interested in doing this and don't understand. Yes, it is an expense, but as you know, you can rent them as well. But it is an expense. But in the long run, it does pay off. And as a matter of fact, right now I was able to get a nice little pushback right away from LIPA. I don't know how long that's going to last as LIPA is being taken over. But I was able to get some money off right away.
We're very lucky. We're very fortunate because my solar energy system, my photovoltaic system, first of all, the energy that comes from the sun comes from a gigantic fusion reactor 93 million miles away. It's known as the sun.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
So we're using nuclear power, whether we don't realize it or not. We're using fusion power.
Right.
All right, and 93 million miles away, and those two atoms of hydrogen fuse together to form one atom of helium, releasing photons in the air, and those photons are streaming along with some other particles from the sun. That's what causes the aurora as it goes by, if you see the aurora. So here, think of it, our panels are like receivers, are like leaves, picking up these photons coming from the sun, 93 million miles away, and converting those photons into electricity, which runs in our wires, and then powers up our houses, and then eventually, if we produce a surplus, goes into the grid, and then fills up that grid, and then pumps that power around.
And right now, they are interested in you doing it because it helps them to have a source of electricity power themselves. I mean, talking about the company. And what's also very, very important is that I know that while I've always been very conservative with, I walked out of a room, I shut a light off. I've done that all my life because my father used to say, shut that light when you walked out. So I am still that way, even though I know I am getting that on there. And somebody said to me, well, you're not going to be making any energy on a cloudy day. And I said, no, not on a cloudy day. It's daylight that
Right.
counts, not
Yeah.
sunlight. They thought that it was only if it was a sunny day that I was able to produce that kind of.
Well, the sunnier it is, the more
Well,
sun
of
you get,
course.
the more you're going to get.
Right,
It's
of course.
proportional. But even on cloudy days, you still get a good amount.
Yes.
And it all adds up. And just going by memory right now, I'm one of these statistic persons. And I keep my data every year since I've had that system. And going by memory, I believe the least, over the course of a year, with my solar system, I produce thousands and thousands of kilowatts, which add up to roughly between 1.3 megawatts to 1.75 megawatts. I think the best year I've had, I think was last year. I think last year was roughly the best year we had, clocking in somewhere about 1.7 megawatts for the whole year.
How do you know that?
Because I have a meter on my telemetry recording device. Shows me it's a German-made Sunny Boy unit, and I have it inside, and that's actually has a little solar panel for it too. I have to charge that up about once a month, and then it has a little antenna on it, and it receives telemetry data from the inverter in my basement. And every day after the sun goes down, I can go check out how I did today. And then when I put on it will show me two graphs. It will show me a graph of the day of how I produced, how much energy I produced, how it was produced. And generally, you'll see, like a shark fin, you'll see the power go up on that graph to like around 12 o'clock, the highest point, and then it will go down. Then it usually goes down quite quickly,
Yes.
all right, like that. And then also show you a monthly bar graph, how you're doing for the month. And then it also records how much electricity you produced. And it keeps track of that, like an odometer in your car. It's just like in your car, an odometer. So I make my recordings for the year, and then I just go back for the next year. I go, oh, okay, this was what the odometer said, and this is what the odometer is. I subtract it out, and it shows me how many megawatts of power I produced for the year. So last year, I believe it was around 1.7 megawatts. But the worst year I had was about 1.3. If we get a lot of snow on the solar panels, or if you get a lot of cloudy days, rainy days, you're going to produce less energy. So that's how that works. But it's a wonderful system. And tell me about your system now. What have you noticed about it?
Well, it's really only up a couple of weeks, so I really haven't noticed anything except that I look up at it all the time, and I know that my children who came to visit over the last weekend, and they were all looking up at my solar panels and saying, wow, how terrific.
Yep.
I really felt like I had done something good. Mm-hmm. I have two little granddaughters, and they don't know it, but it's for them.
Yeah.
It's to help them live in a more secure world.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do something soon,
Yeah.
we're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, that's right. That's the dilemma of being so dependent on fossil fuel energy. And that's the topic of peak oil, if you want to touch on that.
Yes, touch on that
Okay.
right now, since we only have about
I know
3
last show, if people want to see it, the last interview I did, we went on that fairly extensively. But I'll mention it a little bit, what the concept is, and it's in debate. But what the concept of peak oil is that we're so dependent on fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and oil, but particularly oil. We're mostly dependent on liquid fuels. All right, that's what we're dependent on is liquid fuels. So the concept of peak oil states that oil production in the world has been increasing ever since they've been using it, and they've been using it since the Chinese, the ancient Chinese, back around, I believe, 800 BC. The Chinese had bamboo pipes, and they were some shallow resources of oil, and they were pumping it out using bamboo pipes to pump oil out because they knew it had value. They had around the Dead Sea, they were using oil to seal up boats. So they knew then. But ever since, that was very little use then. But ever since in history, oil really took off in the 1800s. Right? In Oil City, Pennsylvania, Titusville, Pennsylvania, that's where the United States still started producing their oil. And then as oil production shot up, we've now come to around 90 million barrels per day. All right, we use 90 million barrels roughly per day of oil. Okay, now the theory of peak oil states that eventually we're going to reach a plateau in the production. And then after that, we're going to find out what happens. Now, that plateau could go on undulating for a while, flat and going up and down for a while, or it could peak out and then go down slowly or go down quickly. So we certainly hope it doesn't go down quickly because we're totally tied and married to the oil age right now. Even if you have a Prius, the Prius, you needed oil to build the thing. All right, you need oil to run the thing. Even though it's very efficient, you get roughly around 46 to probably 52 miles per gallon.
Yes.
So everything in our lives are really dependent on oil, and we don't even realize it. 1 barrel of oil, which is 42 gallons, produces the energy equivalent of 12 men working for a year. All right, that's 25,000 man-hours. Okay, and I know I mentioned the statistic before, but people have a hard time grasping that, and the one good way to make it like a metaphor is that picture a large tractor trailer going up a very steep hill, like towards Suffolk County Community College there in Riverhead. All right. Now, you could use the diesel engine to get that tractor trailer up that hill, and you'd probably use a cupful, a minute amount of oil in that cup, perhaps about that wide right there. Or you could get 40 football players from Hofstra or Stony Brook, and they could get ropes and pull that up there, and they could do it that way. Now, which way would seem the more efficient way? Using a little bit of fossil fuel to get that tractor trailer up there, or having 50 kids push it up.
I think we should use the fossil fuel. Because
Right.
you know what?
Well,
That's the only way.
It works good that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and we will continue on with this conversation on another show.
Excellent.
Okay.
Glad to be here.